CEO MOCKS janitor with a shocking bet discover the incredible secret that transformed everything. Ethan polished the glass door of the executive suite, a routine task that felt increasingly hollow as he overheard the chatter of sharp suits discussing buzzwords like AI breakthroughs and disruptive technology. With each dismissive laugh from Alex, the company's CEO, the weight of his inadequacy pressed heavier against his chest. In an industry laden with wealth and glamour, he felt like a ghost haunting the edges. The executives would never see him as anything but a simple janitor, just a shadow sweeping in their light. Today, though, something was different. A palpable tension tinged the air as if a storm was brewing. Once the executives' discussions turned to bets over a successful product launch, Alex turned to Ethan, smirking as he posed his ludicrous challenge. If Ethan could grasp even a sliver of tech knowledge, he'd donate to a charity of Ethan's choice. If he failed, weekend shifts awaited him. Ethan felt the scrutiny of the polished crowd, their eyes filled with amusement, erasing any remnants of dignity he fought to hold on to. Did he dare accept? Could he dive into this treacherous realm of codes and algorithms that felt surreal from the ground floor? This internal battle ignited a fierce desperation. A demotion would sink him further into the chasm of failure, but this bet presented a glimmer of hope, an opportunity to show Mia he was more than just Dad, the janitor. He accepted, his heart racing, energy surging. Amidst the shame of losing out on a respectable life, he felt a flicker of determination. He would not only prove Alex wrong, he would fight back against a life he never imagined. As the days rolled on, Ethan found himself entrenched in unfamiliar territory, surrounded by tech manuals sprawling with incomprehensible jargon. His progress was stymied by overwhelming obstacles. The others unwound after work while he built castles of coding syntax in quiet corners. Doubt crept in, festering beneath the surface, mocking his efforts. However, over coffee in the break room, he encountered George, an elderly janitor whose stories ignited flickers of inspiration. "Son, every invention came from someone who wasn't afraid of making mistakes," George would say, eyes sparkling with unspent wisdom. With each story shared, Ethan discovered an unexpected talent buried deep within him, the power to solve problems creatively, seeing the beauty hidden in the complex lines of code. Yet with every late-night practice session at home, the lingering skepticism he felt from Mia clawed at him. She would always view him through a lens of disappointment. Would his efforts truly shift her perception? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. His resolve began to wane as pressure mounted. Just then, calamity struck at the firm. A last-minute crisis threatened a crucial product launch. Executives screamed as panic ensued around him. This was his moment. Would he be brave enough to step forth and seize it? Doubt gnawed at him, and yet as he watched the chaos unfold, clarity sparked within him. He formulated a solution, a blending of his newfound knowledge and a perspective shaped by years of overlooked wisdom. As Ethan prepared to confront the chaos, tension swirled like a tempest. The office buzzed with anxiety, hearts racing as his proposal began to morph into a fragile hope. Could a janitor really save the day? This was his linchpin moment. A tangled web of fear, determination, and an aching need for respect swirled around him. The stakes had never been higher, and as the clock ticked down, Ethan faced both the challenge of his career and the weight of his relationship with Mia looming in the shadows. Could he rise to the occasion and finally foster the respect he craved, not just from colleagues but from the daughter who saw him as a failure? Ethan's heart raced like a wild drum, the chaos enveloping him in a haze of uncertainty. The polished voices of the executives grew muffled, overtaken by his thoughts spiraling into a maelstrom of anxiety. This was an uncharted territory. His hands trembled, not from fear but from the realization that he held a crucial piece of the puzzle everyone else had missed. The clock continued to tick, and amidst the flurry of movement, a startling clarity emerged. He envisioned his solution a blend of disparate elements that, when woven together, formed a coherent path forward. It wasn't just about coding or algorithms, it was about understanding the needs of the end user. He remembered George's words about invention stemming from creativity, and it ignited something within him. Time slowed as he approached the team huddled around their screens. Their faces reflected a spectrum of frustration and panic. Summoning every ounce of courage, Ethan cleared his throat, drawing the attention of the room. What if we simplified the new product launch by streamlining our customer experience via the app? We could implement user feedback loops directly into our testing phase. His voice wavered at first but gained strength as he spoke. A suffocating silence followed, the executives exchanging bewildered glances. Alex's eyes narrowed, skepticism etched on his face. And you think a janitor has insights into software testing? Ethan felt the sting of the barb but held his ground, his newfound resolve shining through. The people who use our products aren't just techies. They need clear, simple solutions that work for them. I've seen firsthand how confusing technology can be. Simplifying it could enhance user satisfaction and significantly impact our launch success. The adrenaline surged within him as his passion shone brighter than his internal battle against doubt. The executives frowned collectively, a storm of incredulity and unspent skepticism. But then a younger member of the team, Sarah, chimed in. Yes, right. I have friends who struggle with the interface even when they want to use our product. This could totally change our approach. Ethan felt a flicker of hope but also the weight of dogged resistance lurking still. The room buzzed with half-hearted support and skepticism as discussions spiraled out. His words crumbled beneath the weight of their conformity until Ethan embraced the urgency of the moment. Taking a deep breath, he found clarity in the chaos. Let's pilot a focus group. If you give me the chance to gather real feedback, I'll prove that this can work. With palms sweating and breath held, Ethan awaited their response. Would they see the value in what he suggested? Before dismissing him altogether, Alex mulled it over, the uncertainty visibly clouding his initial derision. The realization hit Ethan once more, this wasn't just about him. Mia's expectations swam alongside his thoughts. Could he live with himself if he backed down now? Every story he'd heard from George about inventors failing before succeeding resonated louder. Accepting failures as stepping stones became an essential truth he clutched tightly as if it were his last lifeline. Finally, Alex sighed, the tension hanging thick in the air. Fine. Let's see if you can run a focus group next week. If we don't see results or if this fails miserably, you'll be cleaning the floors. As he nodded, relief intertwined with trepidation. The battle within him still raged on, but for the first time, it was tempered with a firm sense of purpose. He may be a janitor, but his vision was clear. Ethan left the conference room, adrenaline still coursing, but with his mind racing on how to make this focus group a genuine success. He could no longer allow fear to dictate his actions. Instead, he would gather insights, mentors, and courage. Walking toward the exit, he spied Mia's framed photo on his desk, a reminder of the love waiting for him outside this corporate nightmare. The thought lit a fire within him, impelling him to chase this moment with intensity. What if he could finally show her that he was more than just Dad, the janitor? What if this opportunity could reshape the narrative not just for himself, but for her too? As he set his sights on the path ahead, thoughts swirled around clarity, confidence, and something even deeper, his need for redemption. Little did he know, his journey was just beginning, and the real challenge lay in transforming not only the perceptions of others but ultimately, how he saw himself. And just as the weight of the day settled over him, his phone buzzed. An unexpected message from Mia popped up, echoing with the urgency of change. He held the phone tightly, heart pounding, as the question loomed, what did it say, and how would it alter everything? Ethan's fingers trembled as he opened the message, eager yet anxious about the words waiting for him. It was a short note, just a couple of lines, but the enormity of its implications stretched out before him like an infinite road. I believe in you, Ethan. Show them what you're capable of. Love, Mia. Her unwavering support fortified his resolve. He was not just a janitor, he was a brand new person set on a dangerous path of discovery. As he enrolled himself in a journey of ideation and development, the focus group loomed before him not merely as a project, but as a reflection of everything he wanted to overcome. In the coming days, he began assembling a plan. His first step was to dive deep into the customer feedback he had seen over the years. He sifted through old surveys, digging for patterns and pain points that he had noticed himself. While working the night shifts, he'd always had a unique perspective, witnessing firsthand the struggles people faced as they wrestled with malfunctioning interfaces. Each story, each complaint lodged in his mind like a puzzle piece, eager to be examined in relation to the bigger picture. He reached out to the small pool of users and friends he had accumulated. Their openness surprised him, their insights a revelation. Many wanted to share what they thought but were often brushed off in corporate settings. Conversations flowed during evening discussions where they spoke candidly about their experiences. The more he listened, the clearer his solution became: a user-friendly interface designed to more intuitively guide people through their tasks. Realizing he needed a broader perspective, Ethan decided to gain insights from other teams within the company. The engineers, developers, and designers all held keys he had never considered. He scheduled informal coffee meetings, each one turning into a session of collaboration. His naivety frustrated some, but the authenticity of his goals sparked enthusiasm in others. With their help and encouragement, Ethan crafted a prototype that reflected real feedback and provided tangible improvements, but as the focus group approached, the nagging doubt crept back in, gnawing at his certainty. What if his assumptions were incorrect? What if he failed? Could he still face Mia with an empty promise of change? The memory of Alex's derisive comment haunted him, stoking his insecurity. In the quiet moments before the meeting, the weight of expectations bore down on him. Was he really ready to change the narrative of his life? His pivotal moment felt like peering into a dark abyss, and yet, the flicker of hope remained a shimmering thread intertwined with fear, but a thread he dared to grasp. Finally, the day of the focus group arrived. Ethan stood at the head of the room, cloaked in anticipation yet adamant about progressing from the shadows. He had invited not only the executives but also the users themselves. His heart raced as he flipped through his notes, outlining the findings he had amassed with their help. Just as he began to present, the doors opened, and in walked Alex with a dismissive grin. "This ought to be interesting," he muttered, more concerned about watching the impending failure than curious about what Ethan had achieved. Ethan swallowed hard, determination flooding his veins. He couldn't allow Alex's sneer to dictate his reality. As he began to share the user stories, the frustrations, triumphs, and hopes of the real people he had spoken with, he felt a shift in the room. Eyes moved from doubt to curiosity, and even Alex's mask seemed to falter slightly. This was not only a presentation, but Ethan's assertion of his newfound identity. The moment came to a head when he encouraged the group to voice their thoughts. The back and forth sparked new questions, new ideas, a real dialogue not just limited to a product but a broader conversation about users at the center of technology. As feedback flooded the room, he felt a crack in Alex's armor, the executive's skepticism melting, realization dawning. The chemistry of the meeting coursed through him, igniting a sense of eager potential, and with it, a new understanding loomed large over Ethan. He was not simply a janitor anymore. Leaving the room, pulse quickening, he got a notification on his phone. A new message from Mia glowed on the screen. Sweat clung to his brow as he hesitated. This message could very well be the turning point, but what would it reveal? His resolve fortified with newfound clarity as he pressed the screen, ready to uncover the next twist in his unfolding story. Would it confirm his fears, or would there be more encouragement waiting? All he knew was that the moment of truth could change everything yet again. Ethan's instinct urged him to swipe open the message, yet a heavy tension gripped him as if uncertainty had come to settle into the pit of his stomach. He took a deep breath and leaned against the wall, an old habit from his days of scrubbing floors. What awaited him on the other side of that screen posed a greater challenge than any he'd faced while cleaning machines. Heart pounding, he finally opened it. "Ethan, can you meet me? I have something to discuss. Please don't ignore this. Love, Mia. The weight of her words hit harder than he anticipated, pulling him back to a time just weeks ago when he'd been paralyzed by routine and invisible to the world around him. Now standing at this precipice, the enormity of it loomed as daunting as the glare of fluorescent lights overhead. What did she want to discuss? The fear of a disappointing outcome raced through him. He was teetering on the edge of a new identity, and if this conversation led to the unraveling of it all, would he ever be able to rebuild? There was no certainty, only possibility. Pushing his apprehension aside, Ethan typed a quick response to agree to meet Mia. He needed clarity, not just from her but from himself. What did he truly want out of this journey? The thought consumed him throughout the day, becoming a relentless background hum as he prepared for the next presentation of his prototype. That night, he sat at his kitchen table, blueprint notes spread around him like a map to a destination he hoped wouldn't slip away. Each page filled with sketches and notes felt like a lifeline he crafted from the insights shared during the focus group. For the first time, he could see a future where feedback wasn't simply noise but a guiding force. His coffee grew cold as realization ignited. The very skills he had always overlooked, his attentiveness, his ability to listen without judgment, had propelled him forward. Stepping into the office the following day, confident yet cautious, he noticed Alex lurking in the corner, his earlier dismissal still fresh in Ethan's mind. Today, however, it fueled him with indignation. Ethan had transformed his bitterness into determination. He refused to be cowed, he would not hide under the weight of Alex's criticism. Instead, he decided to invite challenge. Got a second, Alex? Ethan asked, catching his attention. I'd like your thoughts on my work. A flicker of surprise darted across Alex's face, quickly masked by scorn. What could you possibly offer that I haven't already seen? He shot back, folding his arms defensively, yet, rather than sinking into old patterns of intimidation, Ethan planted his feet solidly on the ground. Why not join me for a review? You might be surprised. The challenge hung thickly in the air, an unspoken bet neither could ignore. As Alex considered it, doubt transformed into animated excitement within Ethan. If he could survive Alex's scorn, he could conquer far worse. Direct confrontation was uncharted territory for him, yet he found himself drawn to it, realizing it was time to elevate his ambitions. He was investing in his voice, refusing to wallow in self-deprecation. Perhaps failure didn't need to be his end, it could serve as his reinforcement, weaving the fabric of his new identity. After setting an impromptu meeting with Alex, he journeyed to meet Mia, anticipation and anxiety intertwined. He reached the cafe where they had often met, the scent of fresh coffee already enticing his senses. But the once comforting environment now felt fraught with tension as he approached their table. Mia looked up, her expression a mixture of expectation and warmth. Ethan, she started, but he interrupted. The need for affirmation surged, overshadowing the gentle comfort her presence provided. Do you think I can do this? Mia's response came slowly, her gaze piercing as if she was searching for the core of his question. It's not about what I think, Ethan. It's about what you believe you're capable of. Her words struck him like a bell tolling in the distance, the echo reverberating deeper within. He was standing at the edge of a chasm, the heart of his own self-doubt waiting on the other side. Clarity set in, he had more to share, not just ambitions but fears as well. As the conversation unfolded, the air seemed to thrum with potential and unacknowledged truths. Their exchange opened a window for Ethan, revealing elements of confidence he hadn't yet recognized. He began to understand, he was more than a janitor or an underdog. He was a creator, a facilitator of change. But just as he felt emboldened by his transformations, a sharp ping from his phone disrupted the moment. An unexpected notification flashed on the screen, blunt and direct. It was an invitation to present his work to upper management. The impending scrutiny presented new challenges but also a new opportunity for Ethan to cement his place. Could he rise to the occasion, or would doubt bubble to the surface again? The stakes were higher now, and the balance shifted as he prepared to take the next significant leap. What awaited him in that presentation could alter the trajectory of everything he'd worked toward. Would he now seize the moment, or revert to old insecurities? His next steps loomed larger than ever as he ventured into the unknown once again. Ethan stood in front of the mirror in his small apartment, adjusting his tie as if the fabric had the power to transform him entirely. The reflection stared back, a man on the verge of unveiling a vision, not just a prototype, but the manifestation of all the hidden strength he had begun to uncover. Doubt stalked him as he rehearsed his presentation, yet he chose to channel that unease into focus. Every detail mattered for this meeting. He arranged his notes meticulously, ensuring that the narratives he wanted to tell flowed seamlessly from one point to the next. It was a strategy he had perfected while working on cleaning machines. His need for a pristine workspace had translated into an organized approach to his creative process. If he could keep the clutter clear in his mind, perhaps clarity would radiate from him when it mattered most. As he headed to the office, he considered the many critiquing eyes he would soon face. This was the environment where Alex's derision had once sealed his silence, where laughter followed his blunders. But he had to believe in the journey he had taken, the challenges he had faced to reach this point. As he rode the elevator, that familiar pit settled in his stomach, twisting tightly. In moments like this, the old Ethan might have shrunk back. Instead, he squared his shoulders and repeated Mia's words in his mind, "It's about what you believe you're capable of." He could do this. The boardroom felt cold and imposing as he entered, the polished table gleaming under the harsh fluorescent lights. Each face turned toward him held a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. Ethan set his notes down, finding his center in the surrounding silence. "Thank you for having me," he began, steadying himself against the instinct to rush. His voice shook, but was a tremor of excitement, not fear. He opened his presentation with slides filled with images from the focus group sessions, the raw feedback he had transformed into actionable insights. "Today, I want to discuss how we can revolutionize our product line based on real user experiences," he continued, pivoting through each point with an intensity that defied the broader narrative of his previous role. The ideas poured forth, fueled by the realization that he was not presenting just for the management but for himself as well. But halfway through, the room shifted as he caught Alex's cold gaze. The man seemed to hover on the edge, waiting to pounce on any sign of uncertainty. Ethan swallowed against his nerves, forcing a smile to mask the fluttering unease. The words flowed, each point reinforcing the strength of his work, a testament to what he had accomplished against the odds. As the presentation progressed, he could feel the weight of the skeptics begin to shift. Nods punctuated the executives' faces, their expressions softening. Encouraged, he dove deeper into his projections, confident data supporting his vision. He hadn't noticed how they leaned in until he spotted Alex's smirk collapse into a scowl. Ethan relished the moment, the unexpected thrill of agency rising within him. He had become an architect of not just his work, but his identity. "Are you suggesting we prioritize user feedback over the initial design concepts?" Alex interrupted, a challenge lacing his tone. It was a direct confrontation, one that could unravel everything for Ethan if he wasn't careful. "Absolutely," Ethan shot back, his voice steadying as clarity surged. "Listening to our users has opened doors to innovation we previously overlooked. It's time to adapt." Seeing the disdain etched on Alex's face only sharpened his resolve, crystallizing his growing confidence into a weapon. Here was the crux of it: the very exchange of understanding spotlighted the founder of his rebirth. As he continued, he poured the depth of his experiences into the argument, using his past as the scaffolding to illustrate the necessity for change. The presentation concluded to scattered applause, a mixture of surprise and approval blanketing the room in a warm glow. Ethan felt the adrenaline surge, his heart pounding. Ambition roaring within. This was at a defining moment that charts the course forward. As he stepped away from the table, buoyed by the reception, his phone buzzed again. Pulling it from his pocket, he stared at the screen in disbelief. Another message from Mia. "I need to talk," it read. There was urgency woven into her words, reminder that as one door opened, another could lead to confusion. What was she facing that required his attention now? Did this mean everything he had fought for was about to intensify? He felt the pull of uncertainty threaten to overshadow his recent victories. With every step he took, Ethan felt the dimension of his future bend, massive and unpredictable. He couldn't shake the feeling that this face-off with his past was only beginning. Would his newfound strength survive the waves that lay ahead? Each day was an unveiling, yet the next would challenge him more than he had anticipated. Ethan stood outside the office, heart racing, contemplating Mia's message. He felt the weight of his recent triumph juxtaposed against an impending urgency that sent shivers down his spine. This wasn't just about his career anymore, it was about every decision he had made and the path forward. He took a deep breath, forcing his feet to move. The conversation with Mia needed to happen before the adrenaline from his presentation could fade. He couldn't allow triumph to breed complacency. As he stepped outside and hailed a cab, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was on the precipice of a significant turning point in his life. Mia's cafe was a small, cozy spot tucked away from the city's hustle. Just being there invoked memories of brainstorming sessions and support when he felt lost. However, as he entered, the warmth from the espresso machine did little to ease the tension building inside him. The moment his eyes found hers, he knew that whatever she had to share would test his resolve. "Ethan," she said, her expression serious. "I wish I had come to you sooner. There is something you need to know about Alex." He sat across from her, anticipation knotting his stomach. "What is it?" After your presentation, he didn't just see a proposal, he felt threatened. He has connections, people who can undermine your work or even use it against you. I overheard him talking to someone from a rival firm. They're planning to exploit any weakness they can find. Each word hit Ethan like a projectile, ripping through the elation he had felt. Alex was a master at manipulation, reality set in as the remnants of self-satisfaction crumbled around him. "So what do I do?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The prospect of being targeted stung harder than any doubting gaze during his presentation. Mia leaned forward, her urgency tangible. "We need a plan. You've already built something great, it's time to fortify it. Show them you're not easily rattled. But if you let them exploit the past, it could undo everything." Ethan took a moment to absorb her words, dredging up memories of doubting himself in the shadows cast by Alex's greatness. He hadn't fought to find his voice just to watch it be silenced again. In that instant, clarity surged. Mia was right. He had cultivated empowerment through vulnerability, but this time he would layer it with strategy. "I'll speak to management," Ethan said, determination solidifying in his tone. "I'll ensure they understand the value I bring and the risks we face. This isn't just about protecting my work, but about establishing a new culture where feedback matters." "Exactly," Mia responded, a smile breaking through her earlier tension. "Let them see your conviction. And if Alex moves against you, you need to be ready with a counteroffer or solution, something that keeps your idea secure." Her words ignited a fresh wave of inspiration, an understanding of how resilience could morph into a strategic advantage. What had begun as a mere struggle was transforming into an opportunity to redefine how he presented himself in spite of Alex's looming threat. As they talked, Ethan's mind whirred with potential defenses and the ways to nurture the foundation he had laid. Each plan blossomed within him as a representation of what he wanted to become, not just a survivor of corporate politics but a catalyst for change. By the time he left the cafe, Ethan felt as if a tide had turned. Armed with knowledge and resolve, his next steps would be deliberate and strategic. He wouldn't allow the past to dictate the terms of engagement. He was ready to confront Alex, to voice his vision with renewed vigor. As he walked back to the office, he realized that this was about more than personal triumph, it was about shifting the narrative. He would become, not just a participant in the industry, but a leader in its evolution. Yet, as he approached the office entrance, his phone buzzed again. It was another message from Mia, this time accompanied by a hint of urgency. "You need to be careful. Alex is making moves. I can't shake the feeling he's preparing something big." In that moment, Ethan felt the cold grip of uncertainty creep back, cold and invasive. What did Alex have planned? Could he outmaneuver his rival and solidify his position, or was it too late to avert the storm? Each day now promised to be a challenge, unearthing secrets and tests that would push him to the limits of his new identity. He halted at the entrance, bracing himself for the battles ahead. Would he emerge as a pioneer or be swept away by the tides of corporate machinations? The answer lay just within reach, waiting for the right moment to unfurl. Ethan stepped into the office, fortified with resolve yet weighed down by uncertainty. The familiar surroundings felt different, every corner buzzed with an energy of challenge. He was no longer just an employee trying to prove his worth. Now, he had to navigate a minefield of corporate maneuvering while securing his standing. Sitting at his desk, he scanned the day's agenda, focusing on the upcoming meeting with management. The stakes were high. As he prepared, doubts crept in, a familiar thrum of anxiety. What if his voice faltered under pressure? What if management didn't see the value in his insights? Shaking off the unproductive thoughts, Ethan recalled Mia's words. Information was power, and he had plenty of it. If Alex planned to undermine him, Ethan needed to be ahead of the game. He began crafting a presentation, consciously pouring his thoughts into an articulate strategy that combined past achievements with projections of future success. He focused not just on metrics, but on fostering a sense of collaboration and motivation among his peers. The contrast between the exhilaration of his recent presentation and the sudden need for cautious diplomacy gnawed at him. He couldn't lose sight of what he stood for, yet he needed to adapt. Ethan realized that being assertive didn't require aggression. He could lead through inspiration rather than intimidation. That was his power. But would management understand this shift? Throughout the morning, Ethan's thoughts whirled back to Alex. Could Alex's manipulative tendencies manifest into something more dangerous? Each time his mind wandered into that dark territory, he forced himself back to his presentation, staying focused on his mission. As he settled into the conference room, he felt the flicker of anticipation ignite. Ethan looked around, colleagues filled the seats, their expressions a mix of interest and skepticism. He took a deep breath as management filed in, their demeanor shifting the atmosphere to one of palpable tension. "Let us hear what you've got, Ethan," his manager said, signaling for him to begin. Ethan stood, the weight of the room pressing down, yet he carried the optimism of his vision forward. He launched into his presentation, weaving personal anecdotes with statistical analysis, painting a picture not just of his achievements but of collective growth. Each slide reinforced not only his capabilities but also the contributions of his team. As he delved deeper, a sense of catharsis flowed through him. He was no longer just a target of Alex's wrath, he was a voice for change, resonating throughout the room. The nods amongst management reassured him, yet he knew Alex's shadow loomed larger than ever. Once he finished, a wave of applause washed over him, but before he could bask in its warmth, the questions began. They were sharp and pointed, rooted in skepticism. There was concern about Alex's motives and the pressure of becoming a potential scapegoat. "You're asking us to back you against established protocols," one senior executive challenged. Ethan felt the hot thrum of his heartbeat in his ears. "I'm not asking to shun protocols, I'm advocating for a fresh perspective that aligns with our vision," Ethan replied, summoning his confidence. "Excellence isn't just about reasoning from the past, it's about paving new paths for innovation." The tension in the room shifted. Some executives exchanged glances filled with intrigue, while others remained stoic. Yet, that brief connection allowed him to breathe again. As the meeting ended, Ethan felt elated. He had fought back with purpose, yet the specter of Alex still gripped him with doubt. As he walked out of the room, his phone buzzed again, a text lighting up the screen. Mia's words held tight urgency. "Ethan, Alex is ready to retaliate. You must protect yourself before he strikes." The weight of impending conflict clenched around him. What were Alex's next moves? Would this newfound momentum be enough to shield him? Would he stand resolute, or had he merely ignited a wildfire that would consume him? Ethan paused outside the office as the realization hit hard. This was a battle he'd have to fight both internally and externally. Would he outwit Alex or be forced into submission? The outcome of his efforts hinged on the next steps he would take. each one leading him closer to the confrontation he had been dreading. His next move would define everything. As he looked toward the horizon, determination flickered anew. This was no longer a mere defense. It was time to reclaim control. Ethan leaned against the wall, his heart racing as he processed Mia's message. Alex was notorious for his cunning. Retaliating wasn't just a possibility, it felt inevitable. He felt the creeping anxiety in his gut. The stakes had escalated. He had learned that preparation was essential, and if he let his guard down now, he could lose everything he had started to build. Amidst the turmoil, Ethan took a step back and considered what he had that Alex did not. He had the support of his team and a fresh perspective that could pave their way to innovation. Would cultivating relationships be the key to his survival? He needed to act quickly to reinforce those bonds, to let them know he was worthy of their trust. That he pulled the team together for an impromptu meeting over lunch. The atmosphere was casual, but Ethan sensed underlying tension. His colleagues had witnessed the shifting dynamics. As they gathered around the table, he sensed their eyes on him, filled with both curiosity and concern. He had to reassure them. They needed to know he was standing strong. "Hey everyone, I wanted to take a moment to talk about what transpired in the meeting," he began, his voice steady. "There's a lot at stake, and I want your input to navigate through this." His colleagues relaxed slightly at his approach, the openness inviting dialogue. One by one, they voiced concerns, sharing their feelings about the pressure from management and the looming threat of Alex. Each voice added a new dimension to their collective resilience, reaffirming Ethan's belief in leading through collaboration. "Ethan, what's our strategy moving forward?" Mia asked, her eyes focused, a clear understanding of the stakes. "Great question," he replied, feeling the pulse of determination flow through him. "We need to leverage our successes and show management that we can operate effectively, even under pressure. But I also need your help to ensure we're presenting a united front. We can't let Alex divide us." A mix of agreement and encouragement filled the air, solidifying a newfound bond amongst the group. Ethan felt excitement course through him. They weren't just colleagues, they were allies. He laid out a plan to gather data on their current projects, ready to showcase not just numbers but real stories of how their work impacted the company. This was no time for fear, it was time to spark change, to show management their collective potential. As the team contributed ideas, a sense of collective power emerged. He could feel the energy shifting from uncertainty to a shared purpose. This wasn't just about him anymore, it was about every individual in the room. Clarity washed over him. He could transform this situation into an opportunity to galvanize his team and challenge Alex's influence. After their lunch meeting, a deeper resolve settled within Ethan. He spent the remainder of the day strategizing. His heart told him who he was meant to be, a leader who inspired, not out of intimidation but through passion and collaboration. He needed to embody those characteristics, to present not as a lone wolf but as a beacon of unity. Just when Ethan thought he de-maneuvered the risks presented by Alex, a notification on his phone drew his gaze. A new message from Mia blinked on the screen. "Ethan, you won't believe this. I found out something crucial about Alex. It changes everything." A chill shot through him as curiosity intertwined with dread. Was this the edge he needed to counter Alex's scheming? As he gathered his things to leave, his heart thumped in anticipation. This was more than just internal conflict now. His next move could provide the key to rewriting the narrative against Alex. Ethan could already envision how this new revelation could expose Alex's weaknesses and reshape the power dynamics at play. But could this newfound information truly help him turn the tides? The moment of truth loomed ahead, teetering on the brink of discovery. His pulse quickened. What lay ahead could either be his salvation or his undoing. Ethan paced the hallway, his heart racing with the possibilities that Mia's message had unleashed. The sudden rush of adrenaline made time feel irrelevant as he acknowledged the looming confrontation with Alex was no longer just a potentiality but a certainty. This was a chance to seize control over a narrative that had felt so hopelessly skewed against him. He hurried to his desk, anxiety propelling his fingers to fly over the keyboard as he pulled up their most recent projects. What could he leverage? Ethan needed more than optimism. he needed evidence that would disprove Alex's narrative and reinforce his own. The air was thick with unspoken potential, and Ethan could almost taste it. Mia's message echoed in his mind, a siren calling him to act. What could she possibly have discovered? He imagined it could be a weakness, a flaw, something he could exploit. But beneath these hopes lay the spindly tendrils of doubt. Could he bear the burden of this potential betrayal upon his shoulders? Was it merely a trap set by Alex to embarrass him further? He had to find a way to transform his paranoia into clarity. As Ethan organized the data, he reached out to Mia, his fingers poised over the screen. Can we meet? I need to know what you found out about Alex. Minutes later, they met at a secluded cafe nearby. The low hum of conversation and the aroma of fresh coffee created a sense of intimacy Ethan desperately needed. He scanned Mia's face, searching for clues. Ethan, you've got to sit down, she urged, her tone urgent yet edged with caution. What is it? He pressed, losing patience but inwardly grappling with an inexplicable sense of dread. She took a deep breath, seemingly weighing the impact of her words. I found out Alex is planning to blame the stalled project on us, on the team, even though he was the one who turned down our proposal initially. He thinks we're divided and that playing us against each other is his best weapon. For a moment, Ethan's world constricted around that singular thought. He realized that Alex's tactics weren't just pragmatic, they were maliciously personal. So it's a setup, he muttered, a tightness forming in his throat. But we can change that narrative. Mia nodded. We have to present our successes. We need to make it clear how crucial each member of our team is to the overall project. Ethan felt a shift inside him, a realization that the very tactics designed to ensnare him could become the catalyst for his rise. But how could he transform this information into action swiftly? Time was no longer an ally, and he needed to confront Alex on the offensive to take the fight back to him. They devised a strategy on how to gather testimonials and data that would neatly encapsulate the team's resilience and successes. Ethan breathlessly scribbled plans, wrapping them around the budding realization that his leadership wasn't just about strategy, it was about conviction. As they parted ways, Ethan felt invigorated by a blend of determination and purpose. He could galvanize his team, but more importantly, he needed to embody this new role as the architect of resilience, using Alex's machinations against him. It was a matter of time before the veil would be pulled back on Alex's charade. The looming clash with Alex grew imminent, each movement toward confrontation laced with unyielding resolve. But even as he prepared, uncertainty flickered in his mind. Was victory truly within reach, or was he walking into an elaborate trap designed to dismantle his newfound confidence? As Ethan returned to the office, he knew he had to act fast, but the stakes had never been higher. Was the revelation gleaned about Alex sufficient to shift the tide? Or would it only draw him deeper into Alex's labyrinth of deception? With these questions gnawing at him, he ventured into the office, ready to confront his fate not as a mere participant in a corporate struggle, but as a leader determined to cultivate strength from vulnerability. Ethan stood in the boardroom, surrounded by executives who had once dismissed him as just the janitor. The atmosphere crackled with tension, the stakes were higher than ever. He had prepared meticulously for this moment, gathering data and testimonials to showcase the value of his team and their contributions. Today was not simply about presenting an idea, it was a declaration of his newfound identity as a leader. As he shared the successes of his recent project, he could see the room transform. Skepticism turned into intrigue as he articulated the core advantages of embracing user-centered design, using real feedback to drive innovations. The faces of the executives shifted from disinterest to engagement, reflecting a budding recognition of his expertise. Each slide presented not just information but a narrative, a story of overcoming skepticism and proving worth. When Ethan reached the part of his presentation addressing Alex's sabotage, he felt a surge of righteous determination. We have consistently provided insights driven by our users, he asserted. Despite the internal hurdles, our willingness to adapt has kept us on course, and ignoring the voices of our team and the end users is a mistake that can cost us significant ground in this competitive market. Alex's glare bore into him, unyielding yet now tinged with concern. The calculated facade of confidence faltered, revealing a glimpse of vulnerability beneath the coal-black exterior. As Ethan spoke, he realized he began to not only present his case but to dismantle the constructs Alex had built around him. The power dynamics were shifting, doubt was scattering like dust in the sunlight. Once Ethan concluded, he relinquished the floor to questions. A barrage of inquiries manifested, mostly corrective but still probing. Yet, instead of devolving into defensive maneuvers, he embraced them, using each to reinforce the credibility of his insights. "Here's how we can collaborate to reduce confusion and deepen user engagement," he replied, each word laced with conviction. Cheers of approval wafted through the room as different members of the leadership team chimed in, some drawing on their own experiences to bolster his argument. Alex shifted in his seat, discomfort radiating off him as the culture of collaboration took solid root, flourished by Ethan's bold emergence into the transformational role he had sought. Ethan's heart sparked with exhilaration when his manager leaned in, approval etched across their face. "Ethan, this approach is precisely what we need. You've articulated the future very clearly." In that moment, he felt the reassuring embrace of recognition solidify his journey. No longer just the janitor, he had earned a rightful place at the table. As the applause rang out, he absorbed every bit of validation, but deep within, the path was still carving its way forward. He realized fulfillment would never be a destination, it was the transformation itself. Standing tall, Ethan met Alex's eyes, a resolute challenge echoing silently between them. Not a word needed to be said, their previous dynamic had crumbled, replaced by a new understanding. In the following weeks, Ethan embraced his role with fierce dedication, mentoring teammates and fostering a culture where every voice mattered. He organized workshops inviting feedback on product developments, drawing on first-hand customer experiences shared during past focus groups. As he watched his colleagues flourish with purpose, Ethan felt a profound sense of pride envelop him. He was building not just a team but a community fueled by confidence and shared aspirations. Weeks passed before an official acknowledgement arrived. During a company-wide meeting, Ethan was recognized with the Employee Impact Award, an accolade signifying not only his contributions but the ripple effect of leadership he had nurtured. As he stood to accept the trophy, he caught the gaze of Mia in the crowd. Her smile mirrored the pride he felt swelling within him, an affirmation that he was no longer just Dad, the janitor, but Ethan, a leader. He had conquered self-doubt and bolded his existence. The lingering shadows that once clouded his identity had been vanquished. He stood in the light of his own making, defined by strength. This transformation wasn't just career-driven, it forged a bond with Mia that grew deeper, and for the first time, she saw him as who he aspired to be. As Ethan exited the meeting room, applause ringing in his ears, he felt a rush of gratitude. His reflections shifted from personal achievement to future aspirations. This was his moment to challenge himself further, not in comparison to Alex, but in a continuous pursuit of growth. Embrace your story. It may be the very key that defines you. Now, don't wait even one more second. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support our community. Comment your reactions and theories about this powerful journey. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformative conclusion. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of these actions.